We are live. And Burger, do you have us on your cell phone?
Working on that right now.
Okay, we're live. Well, and we'll give it a couple minutes. I'm shooting out those links right now.
Oh, there it is.
Yep, I just shot out all those links. I feel naked without my jacket on. I remember the last two live streams I had my jacket on.
Well, it is getting warmer out, so
Yep.
don't worry too much about that. Okay, I downloaded the Twitch app again, but it's not doing what I want it to do. Let's see. Where are we? There we are.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
We have
All right. I
Lico
think
in.
I think we're good.
All right. We got Lico. Let's wait for some more people to join. I'm surprised Lico just immediately joined, man. I even sent him a message. He beat me to it.
Yeah. I see Kalash too. How's it going, Kalash?
I'm bringing out a Coke. I usually don't like to drink on our streams, but I will drink a little bit.
I will. And I have a special way to drink. Just shove it in there.
Oh no.
Boring, dude.
This is why I opted for the openable mouth for my suit head.
And by the way, Burger, do you have the questions open?
Let me grab that.
Yeah, that's really important.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Leo. Oh man, that guy is always here. Thank you. Ikawa Kenta. It says this is Ikawa Kenta's first time. I'm so surprised. Ikawa has not supported us back like two streams ago. Thank you. Thank you for coming this time. And I just want to tell the audience, hold on tight, guys. We're gonna start in about a couple minutes. We're still taking care of a few things. Ikawa Kenta is Yi. Yeah. Shout out to Long Long because that is one of her first suits up there. I think I will go message Long Long if she wants to join, but let me message
She
her.
might be busy with something.
Right. So I mean I messaged like a crap ton of people. Yeah, so just hold on tight, guys. So you have the questions open?
Remind me where you put those.
Can I just PM you?
You can do that. Thank you.
Tan's real face, yeah, that is his real face, dude. Look at it. Tan is sporting an awesome background there.
Oh yeah, totally awesome.
I will admit though, like I think Tan is our first like virtual guest, if you want to call it that. That's cool. That's cool. No humans allowed. Tan's real face, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, Michael. No humans allowed.
Okay, so I say let's begin. Okay, guys, so welcome to another live stream. Hosted by Fox and Burger. I am your co-host Fox.
I am Burger.
So in the live streams, we try to expand our content. We try to talk about things that we normally wouldn't get to talk about in the podcast itself. And so this could be things like, for example, if you were here in our last live stream, we were talking about being Asian American in the furry fandom. And so today's topic is actually being a photographer in the furry fandom. We do have two guests with us today. One of them is Jodern. Raise your hand.
Hello. Hi.
Yep.
Hello.
And the other guest is Tan Xavier.
Hello.
Stick your tongue out if you can. Can you actually do that?
Well, Give me a few seconds.
Yeah, give us a blip. Give us a blip.
Yeah.
Blip. There we go.
So I guess go ahead, Jordan. Explain. Introduce yourself a little bit. If you could say like where you're from, what do you do, how long have you been in the fandom? Just really briefly.
Well, I'm originally from Malaysia. I'm born in Malaysia. I'm born as a Malaysian, but right now I'm living in Taiwan, Taipei, right now. So I'm working here as a let's just say IT assistant. Let's just put it that way.
Mhm.
All right. So yeah, I've been in the fandom from I think since let's see, maybe. Nah, I'm not bad at math. Maybe let's just say maybe to 2019, maybe.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. So mainly be a photographer. Yeah, and also versatile.
Mm-hmm.
And don't you work for the Tea Party and Ferment? Like, don't you work as their like back end?
Yeah, I've been participating in like almost all the major furry events in Taiwan right now.
Right.
So
Hmm.
yeah, Tea Party, Permit, and also in Infinity. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah, I remember. I'm just a short story. I remember Aratu in
Oh
Bastek's
yeah.
panel in 2019.
Yeah.
He said Aratu tried to translate for her, but he couldn't. And then he said you took over. He said you mastered it. Like you killed it. You did a really good job for interpreting for Bastek in 2019. Is that right?
Uh, kind of sorta. I kind of doesn't like the spotlights on me. It's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm just passing by. I saw him. It's like really struggling. I was like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Hmm.
And then I was like, never mind. Let me take over.
Props to you, man. I think you did such a good job. Props to you. I wasn't there. I forgot what I was doing. Maybe I was napping. Sorry, JC, and sorry, Bastek. Don't hurt me for saying that. But I think I was probably napping, or at a different panel. But yeah, no, like thank you for that. And then Xavier, let's shift over to you. So can you tell us like who you are, where you're from, and how long you've been in the fandom?
Okay. Hi everyone, Olodin here. My name is Tan. I'm a local furry photographer in Taiwan, mainly in Taipei City. Also had been working as an organizer at local activity for years. And I'm from Taiwan. I into this fandom for already 2 years, I guess.
What kind of wolf are you?
Oh, like we organize a party sometime. I organize photo shooting.
No, I said what
Um,
kind of wolf are you?
oh, sorry, wolf.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're a wolf,
Like
aren't
your
you?
sorry.
species. Yeah.
I'm just a normal wolf, a tan wolf.
A tan. Is
A
that
ta-
what is why you're called Tan?
exactly.
So should I call you
Mm.
Tan or should I call you Xavier? I called you Xavier like 90% of the time.
Well, personally, I prefer people call me Tan.
All right, I'll call you Tan. Sorry, Tan.
There.
Okay, thank
All
you.
right.
I met
Yeah.
you like man. When did I first meet you? I can't. It's recent, but I can't. Elon, and you taught us how to
Oh.
drink vodka at Elon. Yeah, you know how
Yeah,
to drink
that
vodka. You
time.
should start a panel. Oh gosh, yeah, we can do masterclass. You guys ever heard of masterclass? You can do a masterclass on teaching people how to drink vodka properly.
Well, I'm kind of nervous.
You
Maybe
don't.
I would.
Okay, Kalash
It's
that you were
okay.
Singaporean, dude. Kalash that you were Singaporean. But we have someone who has a Japanese name. I'm so sorry, I cannot pronounce your name, but it says Fong Kaze no, and then I can't read the rest. Okay, so yeah, and how about Burger?
Well, as for my background, in terms of like as a photographer, I studied film, media arts technically, but I studied film as part of that back during my years at University of North Texas. It started with video production, where I made short films, and then uh, later on, I actually submitted one of my short films to a film festival, and that actually got the award for best documentary short film at that festival. So pat on my back for that. Yeah, my parents were very proud when they saw that. That was back in 2016. I mostly use video and photography for like uh, if there's a furry like a furry photo shoot or a fursuit kind of a photo thing going on. Sometimes I'll bring my big expensive DSLR camera. Well, it's not that expensive. It's just I don't even know the range for like how expensive cameras are nowadays. It's been a while because I've only bought one, and it's a
Mhm.
it's a it's a DSLR. It's a Canon
Is
TSI.
it T?
Yeah, that's what it
Is
is.
it T5i? Did you buy T5i?
Yes,
T7i?
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
part of the Rebel series.
right.
And that thing is sturdy. It's been through the trenches, and I've loved using it ever since. The only problem it has is its battery. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but other than that, yeah. Sometimes I use video for YouTube as well. Check out my YouTube channel. I guess we can talk about that later.
Yep. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I think I've given several introductions in my life. I always forget where I begin, where I end, and what I said. But yeah, my name is Michael the Matcha Fox. I'm a matcha colored fox. I am the director and one of the co-hosts for this podcast. I'm currently studying translation right now. I am a voice actor. I do translation work. I do some proofreading work as well. Sometimes I work for conventions, sometimes I don't. I've got a panel coming up for LAFC Online, but we can get into that later. At towards the end. So not as much experience as Jordan, but we do a few things. In terms of photography, which is actually the topic tonight, I became a photographer actually. I would say in college is actually when I bought my first camera, which was also coincidentally a T5i, a Canon T5i, and
Hmm.
so I'll have a little bit about what to say tonight as well. I'm more of a photographer than a videographer. I want to clarify, but yeah. So let's jump straight into it. So we'll actually skip our first question here, which was just the introduction. Let's keep the order as Jordan first and then Xavier. So whenever we ask a question, Jordan will go first and then Xavier second, unless we specifically want to change the order. So Jordan, first explain to us how you first became interested in photography, and like tell us for your journey from like I guess newbie to pro.
Well, I think the first time I did really became obsessed in being a photographer or taking pictures. I think it's about maybe my third years when it's kind of in university. So it's about, let's say, uh 1920, maybe 2020, maybe. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the time I really starting to
Sorry.
get obsessed about the pictures. But it starts I do start like really young because my father was like, no, as a man, he likes to have some of like his hobby or something. Oops, let me top. Sorry. Yep. Having a
Whoop.
little bit of like more water malfunction. Sorry. Yeah.
As
Yeah.
someone that also is wearing a fursuit head, visibility and where to put your hands can be a little bit tricky when you're trying to film something. Don't worry too much about it.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, my father starts. I think my entry point to getting into the photography was because of my father. So
Mhm.
right after that, when I start getting to college and universities, then yeah, the first time I got a camera, which is, by the way, I'm Nikon user, so I hate you guys. It's like Canon.
Sony.
Oh,
I'm a
No,
Sony user. I'm a
no,
Sony user.
no. No, no. Sorry,
Xavier's a
just
canon user. I
joking.
almost want to.
Oh no. Oh no. I'm calling. Oh no. Oh no. Yeah, that's why. I mean, yeah, that's how I started. And recently, I've been in a regression state.
Mhm.
Maybe is in a sense, it's like I started to lose interest in digital photography.
Right.
Hmm.
So I start taking film. It's like real film stock. Remember those like
Oh.
the 36
Yep.
pictures, those kind of
Mm-hmm.
things.
That is right.
Yeah, I'll start getting back to those kind of photography. So yeah, I still shoot digital, but not. I didn't take enjoy that much other than just shooting like in digital. But film, it has its limitation because mainly because you only have 36 chances.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and also it doesn't have a preview, which
Mm-hmm.
is kind of challenging in a sense. Yeah. And the suspense of waiting for your picture to be developed and saw what you take is like,
Right.
oh, it's like the best thing ever.
Hmm.
It's like
Yep.
I didn't need to edit my photos again because I don't have a chance to.
Sure. Sure.
I should
Sure.
get it right the first time.
Hmm.
Yeah, that's how my photography have been became scenes.
Man,
Yeah.
I've not touched film in so long. I haven't touched film since I was a kid.
Same here, actually.
Ooh,
Same here. Well, actually, that's a lie. I didn't have a proper camera with me when I went to one particular anime convention back in like 2012. Um, and CVS luckily had the little disposable.
disposable Kodak cameras.
Yes, yes. And they all came out terrible because I forgot to use flash.
Oops,
So all of the indoor photos were
it's like
crap.
blurry, kind of mask
Hmm.
everything else.
Yeah, yeah.
Jordan's really retro because man, like I'm spoiled by digital photography. I'm really spoiled. I don't actually edit my photos heavily, but um I like having to be able to instantaneously look at my photos. So props to you, man. Props to you.
Well,
It
mainly
is a
because yeah,
it
go
is a
ahead.
modern convenience.
Yeah.
How about Xavier? Tell us your story. How did you get into photography?
Well, for me, in my case, is before I joined this fandom. One time I go my uncle's house during Lunar New Year. I saw a big glass box called dry box. That's a pretty big block.
Mm.
Right, right.
And there are more than two cameras inside of it. I'm so excited. And I asked my uncle about those cameras. And my uncle showed me those photo and gears he have. Even even let me touch them. That's so cool. I can still remember how those lenses were in my hand. That's how I fall in love with photo shooting.
So have you I'm guessing those were they digital or were they film?
Well,
Is
half.
it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, the way you describe actually touching those cameras was a it sort of made me it reminded me, I would say. It reminded me of when my grandfather, RIP, uh, gave me one of his acoustic guitars, and it was the first one I ever used to practice playing guitar. So, uh, yeah, I can sympathize with how that feels.
I can't remember the first time I actually held a camera because it was so long ago. Probably when I was probably in elementary school. Maybe I was like 6 or 7 years old. But my journey into photography is something actually related to the field I studied in
Hmm.
college, and that's actually capturing memories. So when I well, because I also grew up on film. I mean I'm also from the '90s. I grew up on film. I remember sometimes I accidentally opened up the camera because I was a dumb kid, and then my mom told me like, "Why did you open it?" And I just ruined the film. But I grew up on film, and I was always like, I always like seeing something in a picture. Like this moment, like I captured. I want that moment to last forever, or I want to save this memory because I might forget, and that is what kept me like going as a photographer. And sometimes when I mean Berger knows this, like I'll just take random pictures sometimes when I'm walking,
Hmm.
and that has been something that has always brought me joy. Getting to just take pictures of something and seeing it, and then when video came out, when you had a camera that could record video, that was a cool thing. So you didn't have to switch to different cameras, right? Like you could capture, well, I mean, this is entering the digital age at that point. So for me, the journey to becoming a photographer really started out as wanting to record memories more than it was to be artistic. That was really where I started. Do you guys have any like similar thoughts, or what do you guys feel about that?
I guess some
Mm,
part of that is how I always felt when I had a camera on me. But that I didn't really take a lot of photos in general until I first got my smartphone, and it was a Windows phone as well. It was a Lumia. Uh,
OMG.
yeah, yeah. It was interesting working with that and hearing about all the other apps that Apple users and Android users were using. And I was just like, "Hi, I have the Windows Marketplace for mobile. I have some of those, like maybe not 90% of the stuff you're using, but I have something similar." You could still play Sonic the Hedgehog games on your phone. That was always good. But in terms of camera, yeah, it had a photography little camera. It had a camera for photography and to record video. But I also had a separate camcorder for recording video.
Hmm.
So I still had two separate devices for doing different things, which is what I was used to anyway. It wasn't until I got what like an LG or like an iPhone SE where the uh, video recording and the photography those that camera the what do I want to say, the ability to record video and take photos was on par with the or even better than the camcorder I had, because that camcorder I had was kind of old, kind of cheap, and it could only record up to 720p. iPhones and LGs though 1080p, you know. And
I
using
remember when
that,
720 was the shit though. I remember when
it
that's
was
HD. That was HD. That's
that was
because then
HD.
1080p is full HD, right? 720p is
Yes.
HD.
And now we got phones that can record up to 4K. But yeah, using that to record memories is always a pleasure. That's basically why we have stuff like social media almost, you know? I feel like there's a big connection there.
Shout out to the audience real quick, or question to the audience. Again, if you do have a story you want to share of how you got into photography, please share that. Um, we will definitely read the comments that are relevant. All right, Berger, you go ahead and take the next question.
Right. So here's something that's happened lately. Well, within the past few years, a pandemic. Because of that, things have gotten a little bit different in terms of actually going outside and doing things. So maybe I would say that um, it's been difficult for me to actually go out and enjoy uh, going to places because there's always that risk. But let's go ahead and put a positive spin on that. Let's think about what was happening before the pandemic. So this is towards Jordan and Tan. Before the pandemic, how exactly were you like arranging events for or going to events related to photography?
Well, for me, the most memorable event I think is the only the most memorable event I would say before the pandemic. I was the last time in 2019. I've attended EF,
Mm-hmm.
EF 2019.
Yeah, is that
It's
the
like
one where you got stuck in the Middle East, or you guys studied the?
yes,
Okay, we'll talk about that
that's
later. But all right,
yeah,
yeah,
that's a part of it. It's like
yeah,
that EF is such a big con. It's like the first time I've been that
right,
to a
right.
super massive event.
Mhm.
So it's like
All right.
like kids in the candy shop was like, oh my, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Nevertheless, I did bring my cameras around. Yeah, for like 4 days maybe. It's like at the end was like my hand was like, oh my gosh, my camera, why are you so heavy? Never before I was like, my camera is not that heavy. It was like at the fourth day at EF, like, oh, let me just rest a bit. Yeah, but EF is fun, right? Real fun. But other than EF, I would say at that time before the pandemic, it's like 2019. I mostly do either box standard or what we call standard like photo studio renting. So we rent a studio and go there and have a private photo shoot with
Yeah.
either one or two or a couple of friends, maybe with their fursuit. And other than that, I'm mostly shooting around events. So maybe for those who are not in well versed in Taiwan events,
Right.
it's either FF, Fancy Frontier, all right, and then Tea Party. And at that time, from it is still not a event yet, so it's not excluding from it. Then that other than that, there will be Infinity. So I'm mostly shooting around events and
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
more like run and gun style other than like photo shoots. Yeah.
Okay. How about Xavier?
Well, sadly, I just joined this fandom after COVID. I joined this
Really?
fandom at 2020, yes. So I don't have much memory about the fandom that before the pandemic. But if you're talking
Hmm.
about how to arrange a photo shooting, I still remember that time I always go outside with my uncle because my uncle is a person who bring me into this field. So I always love to go shooting with him. And we just walking around, do whatever we want, shoot everything, and share our photo and what we want to share with each other to talk about camera and the future of photo shooting and the meaning
Hmm.
behind it.
Yeah, photography, just like any other art medium, is about expression and meaning behind it. And even if there's no message behind it, there's still something that the person who took the photo wants to say. Or even if it's just, hey, look at this cool building. Isn't it great? Like it's a part of communication, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad that you were able to have that discussion with, you said, your uncle, right?
Yeah, my uncle's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
I'm gonna read
Sounds like an
Kalash's
awesome
story
guy.
real quick.
All right.
I'm gonna
So
read Kalash's
now,
stories real
oh, go
quick.
ahead.
Yeah, and then I'll shift it back to you. So Kalash wanted to share a story about like how he got into photography. So I'll basically read that real quick. He says for mine, it kind of started when I was having photography class while in college in 2013, and I kind of liked looking at photos of myself. And I found out that I kind of
Hmm.
liked it, especially how I tried out different angles and close-ups and scenery that I like. Okay, cool. Okay. All right. Back to you, Burger.
If I could comment on that, I never really got comfortable taking photos of myself just because it's not something that was natural to my personality. I eventually figured out how to actually do a proper, like, photogenic look, I suppose. Not just to fake anything, but to actually express what I wanted to express, not just blankly stare at the camera. But yeah, now let's flash forward to post pandemic. Uh, how do you either of you go about doing photo related things wherever you are? If it's an event, if it's just to take a photo of one person in costume, if you're just helping out a friend, how does that process work out?
And I just want to add, it doesn't have to be post pandemic. It could just be a general, like if you were just going on a photo shoot, you could share a story before the pandemic.
Right, you can do that too. Yeah.
Well, it doesn't change anything for me. It's like it's still the same thing. Basically, I'll have to scout out either I just pre-scout a potential scene or places before, and then after that we arrange a date.
Mhm.
Either agree on a date, and then we just start shooting. Yeah,
Hmm.
basically just like that.
All right.
How about
And
you?
how about Tan?
Yeah.
Well, I would say this is excellent question. Every photo shooting, we always need to, as an organizer, we always need to take care of the environment, the weather, and how to helping people to get better experience and shooting experience from the activity or shooting. So we always need to take care of the weather that day. If it's too hot, we need to take care of the time. We need to control it. If too much people will be there, we also need to figure out another plan, find a new routine, so we won't stuck in the people, in the
Hmm.
crowd.
Hmm.
That's something very important.
Yeah, and also speaking of weather, there's a certain amount of natural light that comes from how many clouds are in the sky, basically. So you have to take that in mind as well. Like at that point, I think would you want to put like a filter on your camera, depending on if you want a certain temperature or a certain color for your photography?
Um, so you are asking about putting a filter in front of my camera, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Personally, I don't use filter that much, but if necessary, sometimes I will put LCP in front of it
Hmm.
in order to eliminate all the reflection from the glass surface or metal surface.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah. Good idea. Good idea. Um, is there anything special like that you use, Jordan?
Now, for me, I certainly doesn't use any like even like polarized filters. It is not that much. I almost didn't use it.
Hmm.
But for the color temperature gel, maybe like when I was using the flash, maybe I was like, there's a huge maybe because I'm not using the gel to like do a corrective lighting in a
Right.
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
I use it more as a mood lighting
Mm.
to set a mood behind
Right.
as for the
Right.
whole scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a
Yeah.
question. This is mainly for Jordan, but Tan, you can chime in after Jordan. This relates to photo shoots actually. So I know that if you do photo shoots in Taiwan, and I'm pretty sure this applies to other countries. It's just for tonight we have two Taiwanese guests. Quote unquote. I'm gonna label you as Taiwanese, Jordan. That's what JC says, so you can blame JC. When you do photo shoots, when you're on a photo shoot, don't you guys ever accidentally attract the attention of I guess Lu Ren, like strangers or passerbys or while you're taking photo shoots? And so like how do you get them to like not ruin your photo shoot is the question. Like if you're going in a public place.
Mhm. Almost certainly, like without any doubt,
Right,
there
right.
will be a crowd.
Hmm.
Let's just say there will be. There's not a chance unless you are in a
Yeah.
private photo studio.
Yeah, yeah.
If you are shooting in public, um, all the passerbys are expected. For me, it's like I'm expecting that. So for what I can do is first of all, in a sense, I kind of scare them. In a sense, scared them by having
All
a
right.
like kind of serious camera, a
Mhm.
DSLR
Oh.
with a flash and with a sling. Oops, again, oops. Oh
I
well,
thought it
I
was an
hate
earthquake.
myself. Yep. But
All right.
I having a photo a sling for my cameras, so they kind of sort of like, oh, that guy is still wheezying, so let's just wait for him. So I
Mhm.
just kept shooting until maybe I'll give the audience maybe about 30 seconds, maybe.
Right.
Once I'm finished my scene, it's like, okay, you guys can come over right now. So let them having their time, they will shoot whatever
Yeah,
they
because
want.
their mom and their parents want a picture. Usually, it's the mom and the little kids. They
Mhm.
want a
Yes.
picture with the big animal the big animal
Yep.
dude.
Yep. For all the parents like, hey look, that kid's a huge thing, huge animals. And 99% of the time they will call out the wrong species.
Oh yeah.
If you're a fox, you're a
Yeah,
wolf. You're a wolf. You're a fox.
yeah, or a
What
dog.
do they call you? You're a cat.
Yeah, they either call me a tiger once. I was like,
Hmm.
what?
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
Not too far off, but
racist, racist.
Just a teeny tiny bit. I was like, not far, just this teeny tiny bit.
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was like, but in a sense, I kind of not care about them right now. It's like,
Hmm.
call whatever. I didn't want to spend the time to like correct your mind because you were having a hard time to turn over. Even though I have been telling you I'm not a tiger for like an hour. The instant they saw their kids, it's like, hey, look at the tiger. It's like, oh well.
I mean, I've been confused for a goat,
I can
and
see that. I can see that.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because the
What
bull,
about?
where's your horn, bull? Where's your horn?
Good question. Next question.
Yeah, the next question here is tell us about the best or worst photo shoots you guys have been involved in, and let's go with worst for first. Do your worst and then do your say your worst and say your best. But let's do worst, like Jordan say your worst, and then Xavier say your worst. We'll do it like that. So Jordan, go first.
For the worst photo shoot, maybe it is a pre-arranged photo shoot. Maybe let's just say that.
Right.
Because that was the time. I think that's the first few times I starting to use Flash, and I vividly remember that photo. It's like I'm taking that photo in front of what we call 中正纪念堂 right now.
Right.
So there is a place of their banners. That and that time that photo shoot is also very challenging because I have a black wolf, totally
Hmm.
black,
Hmm.
and a white wolf. They are a couple.
Hmm.
A totally black wolf and totally white wolf.
Yes,
I don't.
in the
I
same frame.
I don't remember a
Oh,
totally black
so
wolf, but okay, okay, interesting.
Yeah,
so I'm guessing the problem is the amount of like one of the if you put too much brightness or gain on one of them, then the other one disappears or is turned into like a glowing ethereal being.
yep, yep.
Yeah.
And because that photo is shooting also at night, so
Oh
the
no.
the end result is really comical. It is fake, the fake faker than you can make it in Photoshop.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
But
Uh,
I can tell you, I shoot it on my camera, so that's how bad that photo is. It's like, wait, when I saw it on preview, it's like, nah, it's still good. Maybe there's still a little bit amount of like tweaking in like Lightroom or what I use is Apple's Aperture. So maybe I can tweak it back a little bit, maybe. But at that time, after I came back and I blow it up on my laptop, I was like, oh my gosh, how can I do this? It is uh, let's just say if you get a picture, right, you try to Photoshop a person into that picture, and your skill is still like amateur, really amateurish, so you can totally see that separation and how fake that photo is.
Hmm.
That's how
Yeah.
bad
Yeah.
I showed it. It was like
Oh, yeah.
the worst thing I could make it right there.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it is funny though. It's like when I saw this back, it's like, oh, how could I do that?
How
Mm-hmm.
about
Yeah.
Xavier?
Mm-hmm.
Xavier, how about your
Well,
story?
pretty much same experience. Because I'm holding a APS-C very low-end camera, Canon 5050D. That's pretty low-end camera, don't have very good low light capability. That time I shooting at Kaohsiung, the Pier 2 Art Center
Mm.
at night. And I would say that is nightmare because I don't have very good flash light that time.
Yeah.
The power isn't in off, so all the photo, all the raw file cut out of the camera just blurry, noisy, and cannot use for any software, any
Hmm.
turning. There's no way about it. That's truly a very bad experience, I would say.
How about Burger? Do you have a story?
In terms of the worst photo shoots,
Worst or funny?
uh, worst or funny? Well, I suppose I've never personally been a photographer for someone that for event that turned out really bad or really funny. But I can say for myself, a funny story was that I was going to meet someone in Taichung for a very specific reason. They ended up just postponing it and pushing it further away until some other time later. But in the meantime, while I was still stuck in Taichung, um, I got to hang out with one of the person that I was going to meet with one of their friends, and we had a small photo shoot uh, with just me in my fursuit head going around the different parts of Taichung. And I guess the funny part with that is that I ended up with a photo with me in my fursuit head because I showed previously before in the live stream I was able to just stick this in here,
Yep.
and there's a photo of me just kind of sitting there looking all cute with a bottle just shoved in there. Okay.
Oh, I think I saw that. I think I
Uh-huh.
saw that.
Yeah, it's one of the great abilities with this head. Yes.
I don't have a worse story. I think I could just share a short funny story. I was not I was not the designated photographer. I was actually one of the helpers. I guess you call that mané in Chinese, right? Technically was a helper. Uh, this was in Singapore. Singapore, November 2019. And coincidentally, I went to go see a friend in Singapore. Coincidentally, my flight coincided with, or sorry, my travel plans coincided with Takemoto and Kumak. And so I met them in Singapore, like the second day I was in Singapore. And then Takemoto wanted to do like a photo shoot, I think. It was either someone wanted to take photos of him or he wanted to do a photo shoot. It might have been both. And I was one of the helpers. And I remember I was holding Takemoto's head. I forgot why. I think I was just gonna move it from table to table or something like that. Like I think I was holding his head or I was holding the bag. It's in the like duffel bag or whatever. And then we were at like the top floor of the building. It was like a, I don't know, 20 story tall building. We're on the top floor doing photos, doing like a mini photo shoot up there. And then as I'm walking around, it's dark. It's like 7 or 8 p.m. So someone brought like their lights. Someone brought like their studio lighting, and then we had like 3 other people like shining their cell phone lights to illuminate Takemoto. But when I was holding on to his bag, I was walking around and I didn't look carefully at the floor because it was poor lighting up there. And then when I stepped, I thought this was glass. I saw glass. I thought I saw glass over water, and I stepped into it. I was like, and then I fell. I stepped and I fell, and it's a small pond. It's a small pond because it looked like glass, but it was just water. It was just like still water, and so like my right foot got wet, and I made a huge splash, and I jumped. I tried to get out of the. It's a light pond. It's not deep. It's not a pool, and so like I'm jumping out. And then everyone starts looking at me. It's like 5 people started looking at me, and then Kumak says, "Oh, you're all wet, And then and I'm holding on to the duffel bag to dear life because otherwise I'm gonna wreck this guy's fursuit, and then he's gonna get mad at me. And so I was like, oh shit. The fursuit was fine. I gave it to I think I gave it back to Takemoto ASAP, so he could just check it. And then I was telling everyone there, I was like, dude, I thought it was glass. And then yeah, and so I think I embarrassed myself for that night, but I still helped them with their photo shoot. Yeah, but it was fun. I think it was quite fun. Getting to take photos with them during that time in Singapore.
Man, I the way that story was unfolding, there could have been 5 or 6 other terrible paths that could have gone on. The fact that it was
I could have fell off the building.
Yes. Oh my God. I thought, or you could have accidentally dropped that bag and it just fell all the way down.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. I don't think Takemoto is listening. I messaged Kumak tonight to see if he's listening. I don't know if he is, but he doesn't really understand English. So if Kumak is really there, sorry. 抱歉. But yeah, that's all I got. So I guess move on to our best photo shoots, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let's go with Jordan.
Well, I can't think of a best photo shoot, maybe. Yeah, because for me, the best photo shoot is I get the end result that I want or
Yeah.
something that's pretty. So yeah, it's been a mixed bag. I mean that's how photography goes, right? You either get something you really like, or you can get something like really worst. And yeah, there is a certain formula to get a successful photo shoot. Yeah, but for my personal, as uh, I couldn't think of any my personal shooting. I if I did it myself though, yeah, I can't think of any. But if I could include that, if I get a proper photo shoot, yeah, I did. There is a Hong Kong fur.
Mm-hmm.
I think he could consider fur also. Yeah, I didn't know how he would describe himself, but he is a really good photographer, and I had more than
Are you talking about Dicky?
yeah,
Dicky Tang. Yeah. Okay.
yes,
Okay.
yeah, he shoots really good. It's like
Yeah. He
fine
does.
photos. Yeah, and the profile pic
Mhm.
or the profile pic on the banner on
The lower third.
yeah, the lower third right now is like that's by him, not by
Oh
me.
wow. Oh
Ah.
wow. Oh okay.
Wow.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah.
Shout out to that guy.
And
I
then
didn't miss him.
yeah.
I think that's all for me. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yep.
All right. What about Tan? Do you have any best photo shoots that you've ever done?
Well, for me, I would say every day have good lighting condition, nice weather. It's good photo shooting day.
Hmm.
All
Wow.
the photo come out of it must be good, because my camera isn't good at low light, so must be
Yeah.
sunny day.
Mm-hmm.
You sound so optimistic. Every photo shoot is a good photo shoot.
Yes,
I like the way you
you
think.
you just trying your best. There's no
Mm-hmm.
doubt about it. Trying
Yeah.
your best. You already try it.
You're like
Do
a
your best.
young, spry, aspiring, dude, and I really appreciate that. You're not like the cynical, ugh, I spent 1,000 photos trying to shoot this and it doesn't look good at anything. Just, ugh. You still got that hopeful, youthful spirit, and I
No.
appreciate that.
Yeah, Xavier is quite young. I will say that. Also, Xavier, did you take your shot? Did you take a shot before going online or no?
You mean take a shot?
Of your beluga?
Oh, my beluga. No, 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 no. I haven't taken it. I haven't taken it
Alright,
because I know
I'm
I'm
just
going to
joking.
stream it. So I
I'm
haven't
just
taken it.
joking, man. I can't drink today, but yeah. All right. Do you have any? Do you want to add to that, Burger? Good photo shoot.
Let's
Best photo shoot.
see. The best one wasn't a photo shoot, but it was a video related thing. Can I talk about that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I was actually paid to be a wedding videographer for my sister's friend, with the friends she had back when she was in acting classes, I believe, either acting classes or back when she was in college. Um, and it was great because I was able to film all day with my nice little camera, DSLR. Like when I got there shooting the beginning, I had like a 3 act structure in my head, the usual beginning, middle, end. So the beginning was like the preparations. Everyone was getting ready, getting excited, showing the little scenic view of the venue that we were at, which coincidentally was also very, very close to UNT. So it was easy to get there.
Yep.
And then in the middle, showing the actual ceremony, the exchanging of vows, all the little jokes, and the tears being jerked from their eyes, the actual kiss and the rings. And then the aftermath, the end, which was the reception, the party, the DJ, the dances, all the music. And it was this nice, perfect, personal, 1 hour long wedding video that I edited and shot. And I got paid to do it too. So that was the best part.
Yay!
Yeah. I
Thumbs
think one
up.
important thing in that video was I went up to all of the relatives of the bride and the groom, and I asked them just like, "Hey, I turned it on. I turned on my camera. I said, "Hey, say something that you would want to say to the bride or the groom." And then they said their thing. It was nice and natural.
Ooh, yeah.
I spliced it in with all the other footage, either as voiceover or as just on screen and on camera.
Nice.
It was almost like a little biopic into someone's life on one of the most important events of their lives, and I'm proud that I was able to be a part of that.
I've never heard this story before, dude. At least I can't remember that. That's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah.
I love that. Yeah, I'd love to like. Is that uploaded anywhere, or is that just for their eyes only?
I guess I would think that it would only be for their eyes only, along with family and friends. I don't know if I have permission to show you that.
Sure, sure. Yeah, that's fine.
Mhm.
I have a simple story, relatively simple compared to that. I thought about two, but I'll just share one just for the sake of time. I was on a photo shoot on was it January the 1st, 2018. So New Year's Day.
Mhm.
And this was during my first time in Taiwan, like which would be from 2017 to 2019. And so I remember I just attended Infernity. That was like what the first FurCon I ever been to. I just attended Infernity back in October 2017, so this was just like what a couple of months later. And I remember I was meeting up with JC for the first time. I think I met up with Shu, Malix, Miles, for the first time, and then I met up with two other Australian furs, um, Jason and Rico, who they're now engaged, I believe. So congrats to them. Um,
Mhm.
and I remember, well, first off, I, I was very honored. Of course, I always say that. I know JC's gonna bonk my head every time I say that, but very honored these the organizers of Infernity, which was basically my first time. It was my very first interaction. I think I messed up my impression. But I remember JC saying something like, "Yeah, we want to take some photos, and if you want to bring your camera, sure. And also, like we can't speak English very well, so if you want to talk to our guests and keep them entertained, please come." And so that's what I did, and I got to take photos of Jason in his blue doggo fursuit near 101, which was the first time I ever did a photo shoot near 101. It's actually kind of hard because like you need to get wide angle, otherwise you go very far back. You need to go very far back so that you can capture 101 plus your subject. So I usually would shoot wide angle at that point, and I only had a wide angle's prime lens. I think it was like 24 millimeter, and so I remember like Jason was also. I mentioned the crowds. I mentioned the crowds earlier because Jason was attracting a bunch of crowds, and I remember there was a guy on their scooter. It was like a family, like a dad and a child and their dog, and then like they literally drove up to the like the sidewalk or whatever, took a picture of us, and then left. And they had like a dog. The dog was staring at Jason. I have this photo like on Twitter. I tried finding it. Their little Pomeranian. Like I tried finding it, or I tried finding it, but I couldn't find it. But yeah, it's somewhere on Twitter. Just find me on Twitter and just scroll through my media list or whatever, and then you'll find that picture from 2018. And then I thought that was hilarious because like that was like the first ever photo shoot I ever been on in Taiwan. And then the second thing was like I always love going back to man, this is gonna get me in trouble, but I always love going looking back at those photos because we also took like a group photo. I was the main photographer, and so I remember JC had the big JC like I don't know JC. I think JC's not listening, but like JC had like the biggest smile on his face when I took the group photo, and I always told JC, man, like you have such a lovely smile. Then JC told me later, like, oh, that's just fake. I was like, oh, oh my gosh. So it was like JC, Shu, Miles, Malix, a person called Annie, Shikisai was also there, who's still in Taiwan. That guy is amazing. He was the secondary photographer, but yeah, so it was just getting to see people smile, and then also getting to hang out with like some Australian furs who came to Taiwan for like the first time ever. So yeah, that's basically it. I guess let's move on to the next question. Oh right, so everyone here is actually currently living in Taiwan. The other guests that we invited, unfortunately they couldn't make it, but to me, because I'm an American, I feel like you guys actually live in quite a quite exotic country. And so I guess like my question is like, do you actually take that into account? Like, do you actually feel like, okay, like other photographers, let's just say in the States, because I'm from the States, other photographers in the States, they don't get this kind of opportunity. They don't get this kind of like scenery, this kind of background or environment to take photos in. Does that ever affect your decision whenever you go on photo shoots? Like, do you really try to find a place that doesn't really exist in the West? And again, we'll start with Jordan.
Personally, I wouldn't say I would like really trying to find a exotic place because my problem with my own self is that I'm limited to public transport. I don't own any like scooter license
Mm-hmm.
or even driving license in Taiwan. But in order to get to those exotic place, most of the time you have to drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's own a car, so you can go to those exotic places. But other than that, what affects my photo shooting mainly might be either the accessibility of the site. So maybe, for example, it reached by the public transport. So
Right.
that would be a huge plus or huge consideration for me. And then the next one maybe I would think of, is that really crowded, or or is my subject need a forest type of places, or in maybe a more modern, or maybe lots of buildings
Mm-hmm.
here and there, those kind of city or urban scapes, or something else. So yeah, that's how I mainly focus on my shooting because revolves around the subject. Other
Right.
is yeah.
And how about Xavier?
Well, I would call this question as an question. Maybe I should mention some data early. I according to my little did I know, most of the people here we took photo at park or private house or hotel because mainly most people here we own Japanese style fusu that's not very okay with uh moisture environment. That's not good
Mhm.
for the fursuit. It might damage it.
Mm,
Second, it's
right.
heavy. It's not good for sport or walking. So we normally just choose a place that's easy for people to walking around.
Mhm.
So mostly we stay in the city, not going to other far or special place from the city. And according to my data, I analyzed multiple photographer in Taiwan, more than 170 shot photo. The result is more than half is being taken at private house or hotel because that's the best
Right.
environment for
Mhm.
Japanese style pursuit.
Mhm. Yeah, that does make sense if you have something that's more delicate and definitely more expensive. I would assume you want to be away from different kinds of environments that might more or less affect it in a way that you don't want.
Mhm.
So I want to I kind of want to tease the question a little bit more and ask a follow up question, and then I'll hand it over to Burger. Like for example, like I guess my question was kind of getting at like places like Jiu Fun. Like I know it's really hard to go there. Or for example, at the top of Elephant Mountain with 101 in the background. I know it's really hard to do these things, but like, would you guys ever consider like, it could be us, for example, as four of us, or maybe add an extra Mane. Like, would you guys ever want to do that? Have you guys ever considered, going to these like rather exotic or touristy places to take those photos because you could only do that in Taiwan?
Well, given the chance, I will.
All right, let's go tomorrow. You want to go tomorrow? What are you doing tomorrow?
Uh, maybe some other times, maybe, but yeah, I might need to train myself a bit. It's like
Before you go to Jiu
the
Fun.
yeah, let's just say the COVID hasn't been really nice to me.
Right, right.
Oh,
All got a COVID like Flappy Patty.
No, you look
hmm.
good. No, we talked about the other. You look great. You look great, man. Like I'm
Hmm.
proud of you. I'm really proud of you. We need to go jogging
And
sometime, though. Yeah. And what about Xavier? Would you go to those places if you had the chance? If you could form
If
a
I have the
group or something?
chance, definitely, man. I'm the
Yeah,
one who always take challenge. I'm trying to take
really.
her.
Hmm.
Yeah, of course. Just with my new camera,
All right, you
if I
better
have.
watch out what you say. If I see you at Chahui, if I see a tea party and you say you're the challenge taker, then you better watch out, man. I'll see you next week.
Sure, man.
I we
The
can we
wheels
can
of fate are turning.
we can definitely talk about that later about going to Gel Fun or something. I always wanted to take a photo shoot Gel Fun. Like I
Hmm.
always wanted to do that. Yeah, it's just especially at night. Especially at night.
Hmm.
If you can push the crowds away, which will be hard, but if you can push the crowds away, I think it looks beautiful. If you get the right locations, I think Gel Fun looks great. But yeah,
Hmm.
we'll
Hmm.
hand it. Let's skip that one, and I'll hand it to you, Burger.
Okay. I actually wanted to say something about that because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I've been able to go to these more exotic places, specifically in Geelong and Jiufen and all that, with an ex coworker slash a close friend of mine, uh, and just taking photos of me in my fursuit over along the northern edge of the island. We found some spots because he actually used to grew up in Geelong, so he knew all the best spots. He knew the best vendors at the night market in Geelong. He knew uh, how to basically navigate through it because he actually has a car. Lucky him.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And if you want to see those, I'll share them later after the live stream.
Yeah.
The photos we took. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then we can probably get like maybe we can compile this later, but like if we make a tweet, like a thank you tweet, then we can just
Mhm.
go ahead and throw in a bunch of links or whatever, like on at and start like a comment chain. Just maybe ask our guest, Taiwanese furs, or you guys like share your photos, down below, and get
Mhm.
like a chain going. That might be a good idea for audience engagement. So yeah, audience, if you have photos you want to share, we will create a tweet later, maybe tomorrow. Okay. Oh, back to you, Burger.
Right. So we've been talking about you taking photos of other people, but basically, how do you feel about photos of yourself? And this is a touchy question or a touchy subject for some people because they like to separate their furry life from their real life. More so, other people with like, maybe they
Mhm.
just have some sort of image that they want to present that they want to separate from their real life, or they're just not comfortable taking photos of themselves in general. It doesn't even have to be related to furry, the furry fandom. But like, how do you feel about that? How do you feel about photos of yourself? Do you usually ask people to like blur your face or to just avoid you without your suit on or without your VTuber 3D model tan? How do you feel about that?
So, that's a very critical question, I would say.
Hmm.
But just personally, in my opinion, I'm okay with showing my face in front of my friend, but in
Right,
front of
right.
public, I would say that's my personal private. Uh,
Right.
private. I normally will hiding my face in front of public.
Hmm. And then what about Jordan?
Well, for me, if I'm out of this, I would prefer not to.
Hmm.
All right, I wouldn't say go that far as to ask people to blur out the face, because that practice is actually only happens in Japan.
Hmm.
So in other countries, it is kind of touchy subject. It
Yeah,
is kind of hard to ask the photographer to like blur out the face. But for taking selfies, nah, until right now, I still kind of feel kind of funny. It's like,
me too.
ew. It was
Hmm.
Me
like,
too. Who is that? Who's
I'm not
that?
so sure. I'm not so sure about that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Amen, brother. Yeah, I can't take a selfie for shit.
Yeah.
Oh man,
Uh,
you know you looks awesome.
Man, you look more handsome than me,
mhm.
Tan. I'm not that great. My hair's too
Yeah.
long now.
I mean, for me
Mhm.
personally, I don't mind selfies. It's just something I'm not very interested in doing very often because I would rather show what I like or what I want people to see, and that usually isn't like myself. If you get what I mean, I'm like I don't mind showing off my face. We did that for the Infernity video
Yep.
for like yeah we so obviously that's fine, but like other than that, it's not so much I'm scared. It's just like yeah, I don't need to. Um,
I think
now.
I had something I wanted to add,
Hmm?
if that's okay. We learned in the oh man, I think it was 17 or 18, episode 17 or 18 of the podcast with Leola and Yuho.
Hmm.
They kind of do this thing where like someone will take a picture of everyone's phones and then on their phones they show their personas like, and that's just I just had a quick question to uh, Xavier and sorry, I should be saying Tan and Jordan. Do you guys do that a lot? Like so like if you don't take a selfie, will you just like if you're having dinner with a bunch of people, do you guys do the thing where you put all your phones in the center and you take a picture of that?
Yeah, I think that's something we might do, or for the let's say older generations.
Hmm.
Really, older
Well,
generation does that.
yeah, I'm considered the old generations, the old
All
guy.
right. Cheers to you, man. Cheers to you.
Hmm.
Uh, well, we used to do a photos where everybody shows their fingers, and we
Oh
Hmm.
yeah, yeah,
kind of try to make a star or
yeah.
a like shape around the photos.
I've done that twice. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hmm.
yeah. I mean that is a kind of like smarter way to avoid the whole like getting the human side of things
Hmm.
Hmm.
into the pictures.
Yeah.
And I would also like to hijack this a little bit because
Okay.
I have a close call within my professional life, all right, my
Oh
working
yeah,
life. It's like,
yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the I vividly remember that it was like this is a really close call. Um, I'm kind of low key about the furry stuff, but not that low key because let me just grab my phone. Yeah, my phone. See the back case.
Oh, yeah,
This
yeah.
screams furry. All right,
That's
Mm-hmm.
this
furry. That's
screams
a
furry.
furry.
But I kind of like, yeah, just casually. This is just a enemy character. That's all. Go ahead. It's like nothing to see here. So, but for one, I found this at a later stage when I was working with a client, and suddenly one day out of nowhere he starts to talk about his children,
Hmm.
especially his
Mhm, mhm.
daughter. It's like, I don't get it. My daughter is such a in-home person. It's like I don't get it. Why she can draw something and then sold to all those like stupid foreigners for like stupid prices. I don't
Mhm,
get it.
mhm.
But hey, it was like when I heard that, it was like my mind was like all the warning signs came out. It's like, hmm, this is not good.
Hmm.
This is the problem. There's high chance probability this is a furry
Mm-hmm.
or a furry artist, not
Hmm.
necessarily a full furry. And after that, I'll just go along with the whole chatting as like,
Mhm, mhm.
yeah, maybe because yeah, those foreigner maybe because the price is so cheap. Yeah, why not? If she can make a living for this, it is good. Can you show me some of her works? It's like, oh yeah, let me just show you. That's oh okay. Then after a couple of weeks, I talk to some of my friends or something, and suddenly I saw her name. I was like,
Hmm.
oh no, this is I could not let his father know I'm a furry.
Hmm.
This is
Mhm, mhm.
way
Right,
too
right.
close. I was like, oh my gosh. I, his father could not know this. If not, I'm totally in deep shit. I was like,
Hmm.
oh no.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's why I have a certain kind of try to like separate my work life from the furry style, but
Mhm.
Hmm.
it's kind of blurred a little. But if that close, it's like, phew, this is cutting too close.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Ten
And
Lender
I
joining.
understand. Yeah, I understand wanting to hide that
Hello.
from people because some people, not even the fault of your own, would take that in a way or a light that is not so much negative, but even just questionable. Just as like,
Yep.
really, this is what you do? Okay,
Yep.
weirdo.
Yep.
I do want to say that's a really cool looking case. I really want to get that for my phone, but probably not anytime Brown Dog looks similar to me. I don't that's not. Well, it's actually a wolf. Hey, Xavier, you just got called a dog, but anyway, um yeah, so that's a really cool thing though. Like I actually don't really care too much if most of my friends or my professional coworkers know that I'm a furry, but I don't know. I respect your decision. I think it's definitely the safer choice.
Hmm.
Probably you don't like you don't have to open up with that. You don't have to tell your coworkers that you are in Shochen or something like that, or
Hmm.
works at Furry High School. That some people I always see people write on their Facebook profiles. I'm like, all right, man. Like, I don't know. I see it. Like, sorry to call you guys out. I see it. Um, I couldn't do that, but all right.
Hmm. Yeah. For me personally, I only bring it up when it's necessary because I distinctly remember when I first arrived in Taiwan to my quarantine hotel, and all my potential coworkers for the job training thing were getting to know each other in like a video call.
Mm-hmm.
I distinctly remember one of them was like, "Yeah, I'm from Pittsburgh," and I was just like, "Ah, I know something about Pittsburgh. And so I asked her, I was like, oh, I know something, a little bit, something interesting about Pittsburgh. There's this big convention where people put on like animal costumes and things. Do you know something about that? And he's like, oh yeah, I know something about that. What is it called? The furries, right? Yeah, yeah. And then I was like, hey, guess what? And then I pull out Burger. And he's like, that's what I am.
I love it.
Yeah.
And then what was your reaction after that though? Like did they say anything? Did they want to ask more or?
They were a little bit curious about stuff, but they didn't ask too many questions. They just thought it was kind of funny.
Yeah, my coworkers my coworkers slash classmates, most of them are Taiwanese, and in general, they just don't get it. I have to translate, even if I say show me, show trend, like they don't really get it. But anyway, I think you have the next question. Is that right?
Yeah. So let's
Yep.
make this a little bit positive, basically. Tell us about your favorite things that you take photos of. It could be certain poses that people do in costume. It could be certain scenery, certain backgrounds, certain times of day. Like, what is the thing that you enjoy taking photos of the most?
Well,
And
let's
we can
start with
start.
Tan then.
Okay.
Sorry.
Tan, you can begin.
Okay. Um. Well, this is a very tricky question. I would say, I'm unsure which type of photography I like most.
Hmm.
Yeah, I don't even want to live my own way, my
Hmm.
style to take photo. So, in my opinion, I would try a lot of new stuff. So everything is good. Just try new stuff.
I
New
love
stuff is
Xavier.
good.
I love Xavier, man.
Yeah,
You
I
need
do
to
too.
run president. You got to run. Everything is good.
You
I
you
like that.
need to be the head of the board of the directors. We need your spunk.
Oh,
Spunky attitude, I should say.
I
But
appreciate that.
yeah. But what about Jordan? What's your favorite thing to take a photo of?
Well, the favorite thing I think is the interaction. I would
Hmm.
say interaction. Interaction between
Oh yeah.
a fursuit and the crowd,
Hmm.
especially the children's. Yeah, if the children's are if there's just one single children and the interaction between them, I really like the organics. Taking picture of that organic way of
Yeah.
um let's just say pure love and yeah love and the scene the live action of it I really like those scenery
So
all the other
do you
Mhm.
usually not take photos of like a pose? Do
No.
you know what I mean? So you usually take photos in the moment, almost like candid, almost like a candid photography, basically. Like
Yep.
it's not pre-planned. It's spontaneous.
Yeah, I like the spontaneous part of it
Me too.
more than
Me too.
pre-planned because
Me too.
I having a hard time trying to teach a first tutor what poses.
Right.
It looks great because most of the time I myself also a blank spot. As my photographer I might not have all the poses.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like just show me something you are comfortable with right now and
Hmm.
we work from there. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one part
Yeah.
of it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
go ahead.
I want to add to that because I hate to say this because I've been in photography for so long, but I'm a newbie. I'm a relative newbie when it comes to fursuit photography. I don't think I'm that new. I've been doing it for about 3 years, but I still feel like I'm new. Like Xin De Le, that guy's been doing it for a long time, like maybe 5+ years, so he's kind of a veteran. I messaged him earlier, but maybe he's drunk right now. I don't know. But man, I should have messaged him earlier. But yeah, so I still find it difficult to get the pose I want, and I really need to have a cheat sheet. I really need to just have like samples. I need to have like some kind of cheat sheet.
What
Because
about
then you
like
can
a
just
reference
show.
photo?
Could be, yeah, could be.
Mhm.
You can have multiple photos in just on your phone. Then you show the fursuiter, obviously, because maybe language barrier or they can't hear you. But try to show them like if they're wearing their fursuit, then just hold it close to their eye and just show them like, can you do something like this? Again, because perhaps language barrier, because my Chinese is not actually that great. At least not for the photo shoot stuff. And so I think like I don't know why, but like I guess I need to be on more photo shoots. I need to do more photo shoots to really get like a feel for what poses I want. And it's kind of hard because you have to imagine these things. You have to use your imagination. And one of the reasons why I got into photography is because like I didn't want to draw. Like to me, I think drawing is really hard. And I know it's a skill that you can learn, but I just felt like I didn't have like a talent for drawing, aside from just sketches. And so photography was a way uh, to sort of express my artistic self. And voice acting is also another way to do that, but that's another story. So I don't know. Like I always find it difficult to get the pose I want to make sure that the setting matches the fursuiter. So you try to pick a place that matches the fursuiter. I know Xavier touched upon that. I feel like I work better. Like if I can answer this question, I feel like I work better with realistic fursuits, and I love taking portrait shots where you zoom into their head or you zoom into their hand or you zoom to their paw. I don't know. I know it's pretty classic. It's kind of a classic thing to do. I guess I just love the depth of field. You know, just go like f2.8. Yeah, the bokeh. Yeah, the bokeh is beautiful. Bokeh-licious. If you're a bokeh I don't want to use that word, but if you like bokeh, then yeah, just going f2.8, f3.1, f3.2. I forget the exact numbers, but you know, like even f4.0.
The numbers are lower.
Right.
The lower numbers, the more blurry
Yeah.
the edge is.
Even f4.0 though is still okay. I think like if you want to get like semi bokeh, but I think like because you have to be careful because like you also want to capture your subject. So if you shoot like f1.4, you might focus on their nose only or their eye, but then their nose is blurry because the depth of field is too thin. So you also have to be careful not to go too low to like f1.1, f1.8, and shoot like f2.8, 3.2 or something like that. But anyway, but that's how I would think of it at least. But I think the main point is just like I like to do those portraits. I like to do those portraits a lot. I have not mastered wide angles just yet. I can do it. I have a zoom lens. I can do wide angle, but I need more practice. Yeah, I could definitely use more practice.
Yeah, but also I would like to touch a little bit on that side too. Is like
Mhm.
I found that most of the time, if you ask anybody, I mean anybody, any fursuiters to do a specific pose, the outcome of the pose is like really like the is unnatural. What we call is like
Sure.
the pose is like stiff. It's a really stiff. There's like, is this
Yeah.
good? But yeah, the whole photos came out is like really bad. So that's why I kind of sort of like
Hmm.
given up, asking a photo for a specific pose unless I know it looks good on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while we touch on the poses thing, I would like to add to tell all the audience or every photos in the world, if a poses makes you or the performer feels really weird, and or the weird means like really stiff, you hurt, your back hurts, your neck hurts, most of the time that photo will look good.
So you're
If
saying
it
that we
does,
should do that? You should do that. You should look stiff. You
yeah,
should be stiff, and then you look good.
your back should, you should feel something. It's like, oh, my back is so hurting. Can you just, I can't turn it much more. It's like more, just a little bit more, just a little bit more.
Yeah. No, I believe you. I'm not a fursuiter, but I believe you. It's hard to if you were. It depends on what kind of suit you're wearing as well. But
Yep.
if you can maintain a good pose, yeah, I'll go for it. Yeah, yeah. Any thoughts from Xavier?
Okay, so you're talking about posts, right?
Yep.
Hmm.
I personally, just my personally thought about that. Most of the time, people they just too shy or they don't know how to do the post correctly. So I willing just tell them to do whatever they want or the way they how to doing that, and they think their own way to doing the post. So I can later beyond choose my own position, my way to take the photo.
Okay, yeah. I assume just because you're still also relatively new to photography as well, like trying to do it with furries and stuff, so you don't exactly know like what the your favorite poses are. Because yeah, again, you mentioned that everything that you take with your photo, it seems like you're still trying to find your style, and everything seems great and cool and all that. So I guess that makes sense. Yeah. Um, is that it? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
Oh, sorry about that.
Yeah, we can hear. No, no, we were just silent. Um, I want to add that that for poses and scenery, I think there is something to be said about scouting ahead. And I know we touched upon this a little bit, but yeah, I think scouting ahead is really important. I think scouting ahead, if you have the chance, to spend like an afternoon or dinner with your friends, maybe you go there with one or two friends to scout the area before you actually go there, because sometimes you might find a really nice place, and maybe you might want to take some photos on your phone first before you actually go there on a real photo shoot, because then when you go on a photo shoot, I feel like you do have, it's a commitment. Like you need to get like
Yep.
one or two helpers, you need to get like one or two fursuiters, or just one, but usually the photographer is busy taking photos, so the helper can usually help carry or watch the stuff, otherwise someone's gonna steal it, or I know something will happen to it. But I
Hmm.
think like, yeah, scouting ahead is definitely important. I've done that a few times. I wish I would do it a little bit more. um I've been really busy this like ever since like February of this year, and then there's also the third wave in the quote unquote third wave in Taiwan right now. So I don't exactly want to go out venturing, but but yeah, like if we ever go to Danshui again, which I know that when we went it was raining that one time.
Yep.
And it really, I mean, it was actually raining both times me and Berger went to Danshui, but we still made it work, I think.
Hmm.
I would really like to get like some decent night shots, which I was able to do some, but I think I didn't scout the area enough. So like, yeah, I think I'll probably have to do that next time around. I don't know.
Yeah,
That's my 2 cents.
and when we touch on the pre-scouting thing, I would I really encourage all the photographers, if you had a chance, do really do go and pre-scout
Right.
your
Hmm.
scene.
Right.
Just kind of work out a list of what scene you might want to catch and what at what time.
Hmm.
Because in photography we have what we call golden hours, which is either like before the sunrise and also before sunset. Those lighting scenes are really good. But if you can't reach that scenic scene or the edge, the cliff or whatever place, then it is no use.
Yeah.
And also, for the list, it is really important so that once a fursuiter or performer, right, wears his own fursuit, it's kind of like the scene in Evangelion, all right,
Mm.
the EVA.
Don't
Um,
spoil it. Don't spoil it. I haven't finished it yet.
no, 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 no. I mean,
I love it.
when you saw the EVAs came out from the undergrounds, right? It starts like a timer. It is
Hmm.
starts to decrease every time.
Yeah.
And for Fursuit it's also the same thing. Unless the weather is really cool,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
might prolong the whole sessions. But it most likely just like that, just like the in the anime, it's like for every minute counts. Sooner or later the Fursuit has to get rest.
Yeah, yeah.
Once they rest,
Yep.
yeah, you might lose your scene, your chances, and everything else. So pre-scouting is really important, and if you can do it, great. If not, try to wing it as soon as possible.
As soon as they put on the fursuit head, like the timer starts.
Yep.
You need to start. Actually, that's a good idea. Honestly, you should. I should start a timer as soon as I start my photo shoot because
Mhm.
you can't photo shoot for like 10 hours in a row, man. You gotta be a little
Yeah.
bit quick about it. Yeah.
Actually, all this talk about scouting reminded me of our podcast with Polar. He mentioned actually like storyboarding as
Yep.
well. Yeah, mostly because he does videography as well, and you would need to do that in order to figure out how to tell your story through
Yeah.
film. But
Mhm.
like, I assume actually sketching it out and scouting and figuring out what would be the best places for photo shoots or video shoots. That's basically something that he mentioned on that podcast as well. So I think that's really good if you can do that. I agree.
Yeah, shout out to Polar and go if you guys are interested. What that was like episode 3, was it? Was it
Oh yeah,
3? Like the first one
early
was the
on.
introduction, 2 was Kofu, 3
Hmm.
was Polar. Is that 3 or 4? Because
Hmm.
I know we did Karaoke and
Yeah, it was
Alder.
number 3.
Okay. Yeah, well, and again, it's you don't have to storyboard as a photographer, but you should still scout.
Hmm.
And then take some pictures on your phone so you know, like, okay, here's like the scene without the fursuiter, and then now when the fursuiter comes, they'll know like what scene you want. But I want to move this on. Just a time check. We're at 1 minute 30, so we can probably go on for another 20 minutes, and then maybe after 20 minutes, we'll wrap up so we can hit
Hmm.
2 hours. Um, had a question. This goes back to Taiwan because again, like bringing you guys here on the show on the live stream, it's nice to talk about photography, but we still want to talk about it through the lens of furry or through the lens of being Asian in Taiwan. And my question is like when you guys go on photo shoots, um, sorry, when you guys go on photo, sorry, someone's calling me. That I have to hang up.
Oh.
Um, when you guys go on photo shoots, like, do you guys need to ask like permission from anyone in charge of that area, or like the owner of the shop or the boss? Like, can you guys explain a little bit more about that?
Well, as a courtesy, I think 99% of the time we should, or I mean, every
Yeah,
photographer should just at least before you start, just ask for permissions.
yeah,
Yep, that is the bare minimum courtesy you have to do. Well, unless it is like really far away or you are in a totally open spaces, yeah, sure, why not? But most of the places and even like for example, tea party, right? The event that's bound to be happen like the next week
yeah,
at
yeah.
this time, Saturday. Yeah, at those places, you actually have to apply for a permit.
Right.
For
That's what I was trying to
Tivati,
get at.
for
Yeah,
Pier 2, they have a rules that you have to apply, but you can apply it on the spot. You doesn't need
Hmm.
to do it way weeks before.
okay,
Well, that's how Pier 2 works. But some other places, maybe for example, 101, like Fox, Michael, you have touched before.
yeah.
For 101, you have to be fast because I don't know how you guys do it at that time, or you might be lucky.
We were.
Well, for every time I went there and with a person or whatever, when I take out my cameras, the guards already behind me. It's like, hey, do you guys have a permit? What are you guys
Hmm.
doing here? Are you shooting commercial work or something? You have to get a permit. If not, you have to get lost. I was like,
Hmm.
just 5 seconds, please, 5 seconds. We
That
are
happened.
just
That happened to me. Like I did bring a group there of like 5 people, and after about 10 minutes of photo shoots, yeah, we had to get lost.
yep.
Yeah, they let us continue on, but yeah, we had to make it quick.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that's why the I think that's how the majority of Taiwan, right? You have to
Yeah,
be
yeah,
at
yeah.
least bare minimum doing this kind of thing. Yeah. That's my experience though. What about 10?
Yeah,
Okay, in
Tan.
my own experience, yes, most of the time we need to apply the paperwork in order to take a photo at that place because
Mm-hmm.
most place is owned by private business. So we need to ask asking for then permission. And but for me, yeah, just for me, up to 20% of the time, I can just go there without any problem and don't send any paperwork because it's public area. It's park. First of all, it's park. For those public area, you are free to go. You're if you're willing to, you're always night welcome there. And second, some shop they are very friendly to cosplayer. So if you want to go, you are also welcome. And there's a large store in Taipei. They are very welcome cosplayer.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I,
I
I
believe
like those
there's
places. Yeah, I like those places because
yeah.
I mean it kind of helps them out. Like if you take a photo and then like you ask for permission, then maybe you tag that location or you say where that location is. Hopefully, it gives them some business or at least it like makes people interested in that place.
Hmm. I believe there's also actual like restaurants and cafes that have people already in cosplay, like the workers there. So obviously, cosplay is a big part of the Asian area, e- mostly East Asia. Like so, they are more used to cosplay, and they're like, oh yes, and they know cosplay a lot more than in the West. Um, so if they see a fursuit, they're gonna think it's cosplay. They don't know quite what it is, but they know it's some form of costume or cosplay. Yeah.
Exactly.
Hmm. The trouble I ran into actually was not with a photo shoot, but with getting permission actually, because this was when I was by myself in mainland China, slightly different situation where I was just by myself, not to take photos, but just to fursuit around. And I mentioned this in one of the podcast episodes with one of
Hmm.
our Chinese guests. It might have been
Yep.
with Simone,
I think it was.
where it was like episode 10.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I think so.
Uh, yeah, where I was basically in an area that I did not realize was kind of a touristy area that was getting kind of crowded because
Hmm.
of me. Um, and then the police, not so much police, but like a security guard basically told me something in Chinese that I could not understand at that point because my language ability in Chinese was much weaker at that point. But it kind of sounded like, hey, what are you doing here? Um, and I just kind of was escorted away, told to take off my head, and then to go somewhere else, basically, because I couldn't really explain my situation to them.
Right.
Uh, mhm.
There,
So I would say, as a bit of advice, even if you're just fursuiting, but mainly if you're doing photos, you might want to have some sort of handler or someone to talk to the any curious people who might want to know what you're doing, whether they be
yeah.
like
Yeah.
people passing by or security guards.
Yeah, your handler or photographer should explain what you're doing. Because obviously if you're in a fursuit, it's very hard to talk. So your handler or fursuit should need to be able to do that, especially in a country where this is not normal, or they may mistake you for being a mascot. Has that ever happened to you, Jordan? Have you been mistaken for a mascot?
Mm, maybe yes, maybe not. I'm not quite sure. But yeah, that's the whole thing. I think that revolves around the whole commercial book thing.
Yeah.
Almost all the venues, so I would say venues, right? Be it a coffee shop or a place, all they afraid of is that you kind of do a commercial work,
Mm-hmm.
stealth commercial work
Mm-hmm.
without
Mm-hmm.
paying them.
Right.
So that's their point of thoughts. They was like, this guy, the costume looks like really good. like compared to like the 10 or like 5 USD like latex mask or something. This looks premium. By any chance, is that a commercial thing?
Right.
Are they shooting this kind of like the money problem is like, huh? Did they try to not paying us for commercial book? Yeah, so that's why that's why I start with telling everybody to at least just get permission from the shop or for the place.
Yeah.
If, for example, you are going to a hotel or even a high-end coffee shop, if you know these kind of places, either call them. Well, for Taiwan, you can either look up their Facebook or something. They have to have
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
telephones.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
call them and ask around. It's like, hey, I have this kind of like costume thing. I would like to have a cosplay costume thing. I would like to have I would take one guy or we are a group of friends, maybe 5 or 6 people. We will have a dine. We would like to have a dine there, but also we'd like to take some photos. Are you okay with that? Yeah. So be at least be I would say courtesy enough,
Yeah.
and just ask them. Ask before. Always ask before you do something. Yeah.
I really want to shift. I appreciate the information here, but I want to shift topics
Hmm.
to something that we didn't get to yet in the podcast, and I know we've got about, let's just say, about 15 minutes left, because the podcast has a two-part goal, really. Like the first is to just know more about Asian furries, and the second is to compare and contrast fandoms. And the question here I have, just asking an honest question, is um uh do you guys ever feel like there is a difference between like Western photographers and Asian photographers, though, like the things that they take pictures of, their personalities or their equipment? I know this is kind of a big question, so you can take your time to think about it, but like when you look at like Western furry photographers in the States and you compare their photos with things you see in the East, like is there really a difference between them?
Well, I think there is a noticeable difference between uh East versus West kind of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, mainly because maybe or just maybe this is my guess is that the age group or the age grouping the fandom is compared to the Western. Western might their age groups maybe spans from, for example, teens, maybe like 20 until like 40, 50, right? The age span is huge enough that all the photographers they are in between, and also the way to get gears, for example, the flash and lenses, everything else in the States is kind of cheap in
Yeah.
contrast with Asians.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
for Asian countries, the age group is still mostly focused on teens. Some of them like us, like me, and the old hag. Yeah,
All right.
it's like 30 something plus. This is
Mm-hmm.
not that far away compared to the Western country. We are not that far ahead into the fandom. So the gears are a little bit different. There's a subtle difference there, and also the professionality kind of thing.
Right. Right.
So, um, I don't know if Michael, you are familiar with a guy called Sora,
The
the guy who
Canadian
runs.
Singaporean guy.
Yep.
Yeah. He's cool.
And yeah, I've been using his service. Thanks, Sora. Also, shameless plug.
Yeah, plug a shout out to Sorry. I asked him to be on the show, and then he said he's too shy. But all right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Cookie
So
Doggo says you guys are cute. well, Cookie Dog said that the guest on the show is cute, and then he said, "Oh, okay, now you guys are also the hosts are also cute." So thank you, Cookie Dog. Also, welcome Sly Fox, who is also another streamer. Welcome Sly Fox to the tail end of the program. Sorry, go ahead, Jordan.
So yeah, the income levels and also the
Yeah,
age group kind of thing is almost you can see a huge difference of the
there
gear
is,
because I
there is.
mentioned Sora because he has been kind of like active recently with his website kind of promoting them, and
Oh
sometimes
wait,
he
wait.
gets the
The
pictures.
the website is like him trying to catalog different fursuiters, right?
Mostly he aims that for as a photo sharing site for all the for the fandom.
But
Yeah.
he probably had to get permission to upload those photos, right? Because like you couldn't
No,
just
no,
like
no. You can just register your own account and upload
yeah.
your own photos.
Okay.
The
Okay,
thing is
that's
free
much
of
better
charge.
because then yeah, that's easier because then like that way you consent. Like if you're the photographer, you can if you make an account, you consent to having your photos up. He talked about that before. He talked about that like a year ago. Oh yeah, that would. I think I was supposed to help him. I need to talk to him later then.
Oop.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Wait,
but
you're his back end? Are you his back end?
no. I'm just a user on his site.
All right.
What
Jesus
but
Christ, man.
what I want to bring back is that there is always a photos when I'm scrolling on through Twitter,
Hmm.
there bound to be a photos at every con. There is a Asian like camera gears
Yeah,
photos when you saw all the gears around the
yeah,
same pictures. Yeah, compare that to our side, the eastern side. It's like,
yeah,
yeah, everybody has a like basic cameras or what basics, maybe
Mm-hmm.
a body and
yeah.
a lens, maybe one or two like cheap Godox, like the Chinese manufacturer of cheap flash.
Hmm.
One or two of those. If you have one or two of those flashes, you are considered the pros. The pros. Most of the
Mm.
guys only have a body and a lens. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, I
So
mean that's how diverse. Yeah,
can I shift it over to Xavier?
ten.
Sorry, Tan.
Yeah,
And so, Tan, do you notice any difference like between Asian and Western photographers, furry photographers?
Well, just just talk about the sample I just mentioned previously.
Hmm.
I analyzed the 170 sample. I get a very easy conclusion here.
Okay.
Asian, most of Asian people, photographer here, we tend to be more like perfect or very stylish photo. But
Stylish.
compared to other Western style, I noticed their photo is more about recording their daily life or just interaction.
Hmm.
And they're gear mostly very simple, just simple camera, and use that to recording what they like, what story they want to tell in people. Not like, in other America FurryCon, we have Asian photo pool, right? A lot of flashlight, a lot of gear, always perfect photo. Not like that.
Hmm.
I myself haven't found any like major differences. Like I guess I haven't looked at enough photos from like Western photographers and Asian photographers, but I really feel like the differences are subtle here. I feel like I feel like maybe the setting is different because if you live in New York, you probably have like I don't know um Empire State Building as like something you can take a picture of, or you live in an urban environment, but you kind of have almost the same thing in Taiwan. Maybe like you live in an urban environment, you have alleys. Maybe the settings is slightly different, but I think they're subtle. But that's why I mentioned about the setting earlier in the live stream because I feel like going to places like Gel Fun, like we don't have that in the States. You know, I think that's amazing. I think that's cool. I mean, maybe the lens you use is probably maybe let's just say it's the same. You want to use a 50 millimeter to take photos. Like, yeah, maybe anyone in the world can buy 50 millimeters, but really, it's only people in Taiwan who can go to Jiufan like within reasonable distance, within reasonable costs. you know, and you're those people could really only take those kinds of photos. I guess that's what I was kind of getting at.
I can see what you mean, actually, because I guess actually in the US, we have lots of more natural places to go to, like things created from nature. You have Grand Canyon, you have a bunch of forests and deserts and mountains and all that stuff. And you can find those in Taiwan as well, but Taiwan has a more exotic flavor to it compared to the US and its Western style of natural beauty, I guess.
I might
So I
disagree there because I think both countries are naturally beautiful, and I really feel like the
sure,
only thing missing your list is the desert. It are deserts. Like
yeah,
you have mountains in Taiwan, you have urban environments, you have gardens, you have beaches. Um, it is an island country. You don't have deserts, so
hmm
I might disagree with you there, where it's like it's exotic to us as a Westerner, but I don't think
yeah,
I. But I also I would say both places are naturally beautiful.
yeah. I think that's kind of what I was getting at, actually. Yeah. So yeah, there are plenty of beautiful places around the world. Actually, I would say actually, it's just the kind of style of beauty that it has,
Right, right.
based on its like geography and
Mm-hmm.
its how urban a place is and how many developed urban cities it has around its anywhere in its place in the place that we're talking about.
Going to interrupt you
Um,
quickly here for Cookie Dog. He asked the question, how is the commission situation for photographers in the fandom? And I'm guessing this is for Asian photographers. Do you guys ever get requested to, get paid to do furry photography? I don't.
Request.
I don't. No one's ever asked. No one's ever paid me. I just do it for pro bono.
Well, that's another funny thing about Asian kind of countries. Like,
All right.
yeah, there is a little bit of touchy kind of thing, kind of discuss, but yeah, why not? Because
Mm-hmm.
um, I myself, when I saw in the eastern side, it's like we don't get paid for the photo shoots
hmm,
because
Yeah.
mainly because one part of them is like um back to the age group thing. Teens doesn't have a lot of money to spend on
Right.
like a proper photo shoot, and also with the abundance of cameras here,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
everyone's kind of want to get their hands into the whole photography thing. So there is no shortage of people who will do the same job for free.
hmm
Mm-hmm.
So that's why there's not kind of a really good market or needs for a commission, photo commissions.
Yeah, at
So
that point,
that
I guess you
Mhm.
just work as your own studio. Like you wouldn't work as a
Yeah.
furry photographer. You just work as a freelance photographer. Which I
Yep.
do. I do have a one client. I finally picked, or sorry, not picked. I finally had a client who wants to take photos with me and it's paid. So I'm really happy about that. Um,
mm.
I'm sorry. I'm having trouble reading this. It says 满洲乡有沙漠. So Manzhou as in
Man,
Manchuria. Manchuria.
and I think he
Manzhou.
uh what that message say is that I think that there is a part in Taiwan that's called Manzhou. That
满洲
is
有沙漠. Really?
yeah, maybe.
I never
We should
been there.
Google that out. We should
I
look it
never been.
up
Yeah,
after
yeah, we
this.
had to Google. Yeah, can we go there? There's a desert in Taiwan. Can we go there? Like
Mm,
I never. I
Well,
interesting.
I have been
well,
to a
Michael, you have to
desert.
drive. Get your
Really?
license.
All right, I'll drive. Can I get Xavier to drive? Xavier, can you drive?
I can drive.
You can
Of
drive.
course, I can drive.
All
I
right,
have a
I'll
license.
pay. I'll pay you in beluga. Is that okay?
No, no alcohol.
No alcohol. Oh, scheiße. Ping
Well,
dong
yeah,
is in ping dong.
he has to be
What's
the
that? Ping.
designated driver.
Yep.
I'll pay you alcohol. You don't have to drink and drive. I'll just give you. I'll just give you the alcohol after the drive.
Wow, I appreciate that.
Do you want to? Hey, do you want to do the what do you guys call 环岛? You guys want to do the 环岛? Oh, scheiße.
Oh,
Yeah, Kuda. You guys call it the 环岛,
that's,
right? You circle the island.
well, that's a little crazy to be honest, because
Come
that
on, dude.
for me, I'm still in my young age. I still need to more focus on my school, so I don't have time for
I give you
that.
$1,000. I
Sorry.
give you $1,000 to do the Honda with me.
You guys should do it before you end up like
Yeah,
me.
do see. See,
Yeah.
that's what I'm saying.
Do it while you
I never did the Honda. I want to do
can.
the Honda. I never done that, but I mean, I would think that is cool. Where like you go to like major cities on the coast, or you go to like landmarks on the coast. You take a picture, and then you go to the next city. You take a picture, and you do the perimeter. I think that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a little rush.
I mean, I don't know if I could do that in one day though. Like, I think I would do a multi-day trip. That one day, oh gosh, like that. I mean,
I
if you
think you have
unless
to
you're
spend around.
you gotta chug like 5 monsters in one day to do that, but
Mhm.
you need a week. Maybe you need a week to do this. You
Yeah,
know,
at least
Exactly a week. Yeah.
yeah,
yeah.
5,
you,
7 days. Yeah.
yeah. I never been to Pingdong though, but I'd love to go Pingdong. Shout out to Apin, who lives in Pingdong. I don't think Apin's watching, but shout out to Apin though. I think we can we okay, how about this? One last question, and then we'll do social media shout out, and then we'll do the outro because we are sitting at 10:59. So the last question here, again, as brief as you can make it. What is your number one advice for aspiring photographers?
Well, look behind you.
I'm looking behind
That,
me, man. You're scaring me now. Are you behind me?
that's the thing I would like to tell the aspiring photographers.
All right, Jordan says, "Look
Because
behind you." What does that mean? What does that mean?
yeah, when you start shooting, look behind you. Because um if you are just starting out, you might not know your cameras well, you do not know how your field of view or kind of thing. You might need to change a few settings
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
here and there. Yeah. If you have a short kit lens, you have to move in front. That's why. That's why I say you have to look behind you.
Mm-hmm.
Do not stand in the taking the best view. We call the prime view for too long. If at least just shoot like 3 or 4 clicks, then look behind you. If you saw a bunch of angry people behind you, move away,
Yeah, yeah.
please.
Look behind you. I love that.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
You're going down. Yeah, we have to like pick a quote from like every single live stream, every single episode, and then we had to pick like
Mhm.
a quote that represents the episode or whatever. We'll just create a giant like list of quotes. Look behind you. That's great. How about you, Xavier?
Mhm.
Well, I would say photography for me is not looking, is feeling. If the
Really?
Mhm.
photographer is interested in people in front of his lens, and if he's compassionate, it's already a lot. Come on, man, it's
Mm-hmm.
already a lot. The instrument is not the camera, but the photographer. So you are the
Mhm.
most important component. So let me give you one. It's more important for a photographer to have very good shoot than to have a very good camera. Cause if you are out there shooting, thing will happen for you. If you are not out there, you will only hear about it. You will never have any shot out of it.
I think that's beautifully said. It's like being in the moment and being able to express yourself the way that you want to do that. Uh, and then not just that, but like being able to, how would I say it? It'll come to me, but yeah, I like the way that was phrased. It definitely sounds like something from someone that is very passionate about their craft. And that's probably from all the experience that you've gotten from passed down from your uncle or from all the events and the photo shoots that you've done so far. So I appreciate that you have that sort of perspective, Dan.
Appreciate that.
Thank you guys. I want to chime in here. I think I called myself a newbie photographer, and maybe that's from like a long term perspective. Like I feel like there are a lot of photographers out there who are definitely better than me. And I'm not just saying that to sound humble. I just think it's true. I don't think I'm like that much of a noob. I think I'm like newbie / intermediate. But my piece of advice, in a similar vein, to Tan, is about like networking. Like, know your networks. When I first came to Taiwan, I didn't have very many people who wanted me to be their photographer, but it was just a slow process of time of getting to know people, getting to know certain photographers and fursuiters, and slowly getting invited to these things because when you start out, if you are really starting out, if you're really an aspiring photographer, not very many people know you. Not many people may be willing to invite you to these photo shoots, these hangouts, and that's okay. Like, people have friends, people have cliques, and that's why I'm saying, like, know your networks and build it over time. Like give it time. Really, I think that's what I'm trying to say. Give your networks time. Give your skills some time. Never stop taking photos. Take a photo each day. Honestly, I take a photo of my lunch just because, like, I want to see like the bokeh or whatever that I can create, or I want to like zoom into like the crispiness on my G pie or something like that. Now I'm hungry, but like, I don't know, like I just because you're practicing a different skill, or like you're approaching the food from a different angle, just something to keep practicing, give it time. So that would be my advice. Yeah. I love everyone's input though. Like, I appreciate that.
Mhm.
I think we're ready for a social media shout out. And Chad, if you have advice as well, throw them in. But we can do our shout out. So for Jodern, where can we find you?
Most likely my Twitter. So at Jordan.
JODERN.
And yep, JODERN.
Sweet.
And also on Furtrack. Yeah.
Mm.
I mostly upload my newer photos on there as well.
Awesome. And then for Xavier, for Tan.
Well, I'm mostly using Facebook and Twitter. And if you wanna find me, you can just using my Twitter, send DM or Facebook DM or even Telegram is okay. I'm always
Wow.
willing to talk to people.
Such a generous man. Generous wolf.
Mhm.
All right, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I feel like
Thank
this has
you.
been a pretty informative and fun little live stream. We've learned quite a bit about photography as it relates to the furry fandom. We learned about what to do when you need to get permission, where exactly to go if you want to have good, like, fursuit photos, basically. But mostly not just about what kind of camera you have, but how you use it. Even if you have a phone camera, like, as long as you're there in the moment and you have some sort of interaction or organic moment, or even just a cool pose that someone is doing, and you take that perfect photo, then that's the essence of what you want to do in the artistic medium of photography. Yeah.
Okay, guys. This has been the April live stream of the Fox and Burger podcast. I am once again your co-host Fox,
And I am the burger.
and we will see you in the next live stream or next podcast episode. Bye, guys.
See ya.
Oh, and thank you. Oh,
Bye.
thank you all the guests thank you to our guests, and thank you to all the viewers who came today. Thank you so much.
Yes,
All
thank
right.
you. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you, Tan. See you, guys, sometime later,
Mhm.
and see you, audience, next month.